Despite the Supreme Court order extending the old notes phase-out deadline, we're still waiting to hear from the CBN. We're still waiting to hear from most of the banks. Nigerians are finding it difficult to exchange the old notes for the new ones. A lot of people who have done transactions have not been able to use the old notes. They have it in their hands, but they said they went to the banks and the banks were rejecting the notes. Since nobody has heard anything from the CBN up until now, we'd like to hear your thoughts on what is happening right now, how it's affecting the economy, how it's affecting businesses. What experiences have you had so far concerning this matter? So you can join the conversation by calling us on 081-270-53687 or 091-390-76948, or tweet to us at TVC Connect, #YourViewTVC, so that we can talk about this. So what are your experiences so far? I mentioned recently that I was able to do some transactions with malams selling vegetables, because now there was no cash to make payment. Normally I would stop by, pay them with cash, buy my fruits, buy my vegetables in traffic, but now you can't even do that because there is no cash. But some of them are getting options. They are using their children's accounts, family members' bank accounts, just so that those things can sell. And we also understand that a lot of them sell perishable items. So if they don't sell them, they will definitely not be able to eat everything, and then it gets spoiled. What have been your experiences so far?
So personally, I haven't had the experience of using the old notes and being rejected. So initially, you know, when we had the first deadline, yes, I remember you would go to some places, even before the deadline, some people would say, and that happened to me, that they're not collecting the old notes. But when it was extended, I've been able to, you know, use the old notes alongside. But of course, from what we've read from the papers, it's not the same for many people. And I guess maybe for even bigger transactions, they will not be able to do that. And so that is a problem. Like you, I was able to do transfer, but I am in Lagos. I don't know what the many other Nigerians who are not in Lagos, in other places, are facing concerning, you know, being transactions and being able to use POS or transfers. I know for my mom, she was saying to me, can I post cash to her?
Oh.
She's been waiting on cash. She says that what it will take is for her maybe to send some people to queue on the ATM for hours before maybe someone can get some amount. She says, I think she's saying that around where she is, you can only get 10,000 Naira, you know, and it's not been easy to do a lot of things. I also remember them mentioning to me that a bag of maize that used to go for almost 20,000 is now about 10,000 Naira. Food has just been left, you know, to perish. And you know now, Plateau State, a lot of people do farming, fruits, food, but there's no cash. Money transfers also have been a major problem. So yes, even though for me yesterday, it happened that I could do that transfer, but I was worried because for the past week, I haven't been able to do those transfers. Either they are reversed or they are hanging, and then you would see that debits have been made. I have someone who has been going to the bank back and forth. I don't want to mention the name of the bank, back and forth, to see how they could rectify amounts of money that they had taken out from her account. She made transfer to someone. She needed something to be given to her, you know, and it was time-bound. And she could not do it. First of all, also, they were not allowing you into some of the banks to go and address this issue. So it would be nice to also hear, it would be important to hear from the CBN, the Supreme Court, and the federal government, because we have the CBN just being quiet. We have the governors and the federal government going back and forth with the Supreme Court. As I'm sitting right here, I really don't know from the federal government and at that level of governance where we're supposed to be going next.
As for me, I would just prefer that, you know, somebody just press a rewind button and reset us back to where we were before all of this madness started. Thankfully, the Orange Bank reversed my transaction, and it was after I made a call. So I was able to find their customer care number and made a call, which they took and, you know, said in 5 working days. 5 working days was Friday. So they alert that reversed the money. But we know that, you know, transactions still keep failing. All the POSs around me are shut. There's only one guy that was sitting in one corner that was able to do a limited kind of transaction yesterday evening. The banks are shut. As we speak this morning, the bank where I have to go to get cash, nobody's coming to work there. And it's a red bank. They shut down all their branches for fear of attack. They were attacked last week by their callers, so that they don't come and say we are calling them out. But they shut down. They shut down one of their branches close to the house as well, so people can't get cash from the banks because of what the CBN did. So let's remind Nigerians, CBN reviewed our cash policy. They changed our Naira notes to new one, the upper denominations from 1,500 and 200. They also put a cash withdrawal limit. And then they gave the banks the notes, but they told them only 20,000 Naira daily for individuals and a certain amount for corporate entities. And so Nigerians could not access money for their businesses. Then they went around the banks with the cameras, put it in their faces, went into the vaults and said they have notes without saying there's a policy limiting what they can give. They put the cameras to their faces and said, Nigerians, they have no, they're not giving you people. So you that you have withdrawn, they set your limits for the day. You are standing at the bank, you're insisting on getting more because you need more. The sad news I heard yesterday was a hospital insisting on cash.
Yes.
Oh,
Hospital. What business does a hospital have insisting on cash? Treat the patient if they are willing to pay via transfer. You can even ask for the, maybe if you think you want to go and get it cashed, you can ask for the difference of the withdrawal, something, but do not owe the patient or delay their treatment for this. But this happened. That was the news we got yesterday from a family friend. And so the CBN then puts the banks out there as the ones who were causing the hardship. So Nigerians took law into their hands. And we saw videos across the country where banks were being attacked. Bank staff now have to disguise if they must go to work. Banks now start shutting in volatile areas their branches. As we speak now, if you go to Ogun State and Oyo State, you cannot see a bank. The bank has to have two heads and horns to tear Nigerians and open. So Nigerians can't even access, the people who could even do transaction, you want to report failed transaction, you want to carry the...
they're not paying attention to
nobody is opening for you. Where you want pass center, go fly. You know, so we have a failing system. And the governors who are in some states and seeing how this is affecting their people, Kogi, Zamfara, and Kaduna, took the matters into their hands and went to court and got a Supreme Court interim injunction, stalling for now that deadline.
Yes.
The deadline that the CBN had put, which was February 10th.
Yeah.
And so the CBN said status quo should remain. That all Naira notes, old and new, should co-exchange pending the hearing for, I think, the 15th, which is this week. And
but the said government went back.
No, the federal government
went to Supreme Court.
No, they've not entered their own. The Supreme Court has given them, when they put a matter on an interim, is so that the other parties put on notice.
Okay.
And they can come in and then they can hear both matters
together. And thankfully, more governors
are joining.
Other states
yes, Rivers State have joined. This morning, Sokoto, about 5 other governors have joined. And this Governors Forum are saying, we are looking at a recession ahead because of this. Businesses are suffering. Some people are sitting down and lauding the CBN's move. Yes, we need this, but did we need to do it in a trio-headed way so that it can give us more problems?
Did we even plan it properly?
Did we plan it properly?
We'll
did we look at our situation? We had a guest on Friday that mentioned that, we're trying to mop up cash in circulation. And when the combination of it was done, we only had 5% of our cash in circulation anyway. And so we say we want to mop 5% out. The governors are saying that the CBN look at our GDP as a country before they make this move. A lot of economic issues that I don't even have the knowledge of are now coming up. We're now understanding some things.
We'll talk more about that, but let's take this call. Shola from Ikorodu. Good morning, Shola.
Yeah, good morning, Uyajiru.
Good morning, sir.
And the ladies in the studio.
Good morning.
Yeah, please, I just want to contribute a little concerning this new Naira note. Yeah, you see, I must say this, but it may go wrong with some people. You see, this policy the federal government is trying to implement, if successfully achieved, Nigeria will become a country, our dream, in which we have been clamoring for. If I have your WhatsApp number, I would have sent you a V-note of a seminar that I've been attending since last week, introduced and organized by CBN. We are going through some training now. You see, the truth is that the better we get used to it, the earlier we get used to this policy, the better, because I don't think the federal government are going back on this policy. Honestly speaking, the federal government are introducing e-Naira. We are going through the training now, presently, and they are employing people that we synthesize and, practicing all over the country. We are going through the training right now as I'm talking to you. So I don't think the federal government will go back on this policy. But like I said earlier, if this policy is successfully achieved, this country will be a country of our dream that you have been clamoring for.
Okay, so let me ask you a question before I let you go. So in the interim, before we achieve that greater good you're talking about now, how do you think Nigerians should manage? Are you saying that the economy should suffer? The majority of Nigerians should be out of business before we now achieve the greater good? Or how do we handle the crisis right now?
You see, right now, I will not be in a better position to answer that question. But what I know,
Good morning. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. So we are going to be discussing, I don't know if you listened to the first interactions we had earlier, and we have been talking about the experiences of Nigerians, especially in this time. And we want to ask you a few questions. Maybe you would help us understand what is going on and how we can come out of this quagmire. So the first question I would like to ask you, I'd like to start from the beginning, is what do you think, first of all, of this policy, this new Naira redesign policy? Do you think this is the right time to have this?
Okay, well, first is whether it was necessary. In other words, whether it was going to be beneficial to the country. And my view is that it's an unnecessary policy.
Wow.
Because it promises to change nothing but just the color of the currency note. So you shouldn't expect any benefit from something that changes nothing. It's just changing the color of your handkerchief. Shouldn't impact on your economic well-being. Then the timing, 2 weeks before the Christmas, New Year, a month before the election. Election period comes with a lot of uncertainty and causing cash shortage at this time. I think the real problem is that the central bank does not have the capacity to print enough notes to replace the ones that it has withdrawn. And that's causing confusion all over the country. It's uncalled for. Some of us had cautioned that they should reconsider the policy from the beginning, that it's ill-conceived, it's of doubtful benefit, and it will disrupt a lot, and that if at all you want to do it, you should consider doing it after the election. So, but here we are now.
Yes, sir.
We have a mess to clean up.
So you mentioned that the CBN lacks the capacity to print enough. And this is the first time we are printing Naira notes in the country locally. Is it because...
Okay, very good. Let me tell you what's different this time.
Okay.
Let me tell you what's different this time. Can I?
Yes,
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay. Right now, the total pieces of Naira notes circulating is in excess of 10 billion pieces.
Okay.
All because the highest denomination note, which is the 1,000 Naira, depending on the exchange rate you are using, is just about, it's between $1 and $2, which should not be a note. It should be a coin. So you are printing far too many
Notes.
pieces of notes. So you want to fill your tank, you have to use so many units of the currency notes. So what would have made sense, the sensible policy to implement at this time is to introduce higher denomination notes, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. And then if you manage to print 500 million pieces, it will go around Nigeria. But to insist on replacing the 1,000 naira note with the same face value, the central, even if you give the central bank 10 years, they cannot print. You are talking about 5 billion notes if you are just looking at the 200 to 1,000. 5 billion pieces is unreasonable. So you should be redenominating. The past times when we changed currency is because we were introducing maybe 20 naira or 50 naira, or we introduced 100 naira, we introduced 200, 500, and 1,000. The last time we introduced a larger denomination note was 2005. That's 18 years ago. So we are due for higher denomination. If that's not coming, you will be facing the situation that you might not be able to print enough of the low denomination notes.
Okay, sir. I would like us to just cast our mind back to what the CBN told us was the main reason that they were doing this redesign. Of course, apart from the fact that all across the world, economies would change theirs every 8 years, and we hadn't done that in nearly 2 decades. That's one. Two, we have a problem of insecurity, kidnapping, and one of the reasons they put forward was this will be a way to pull money out of the hands of unscrupulous people, and also towards this general election, which is very important for all Nigerians, to make sure that we break the hands of, or break the powers of bad politicians who may want to buy votes. So that is why there was an initial support, for this redesign. Are you saying that what they had given us as the reason that they wanted to do this, this redesign did not help in that way at all? I understand that we're in a crisis right now. I understand the attendant crisis that's come with this redesign, but the main points, the main reason why CBN gave us for the policy, do you think that it was not necessary for that as well?
When the central bank begin to play politics with currency, or the central bank begins to tell you that it wants to use currency as an instrument of fighting crime or fighting insecurity, then the central bank has lost its sense of direction. And the nation needs to bring central bank back on track. There are agencies that are established to fight insecurity, to fight crime. The central bank is not one of them. The central bank's role is to regulate economic activity, provide liquidity for economic transactions. By the time you abandon your primary duty and you begin to give all flimsy excuses, so have the criminals not got the new currency notes now?
They had it before.
Have the politicians not got the new currency notes now?
They have.
The people who are suffering are the general masses. Yes. They're the ones who cannot get the new currency notes. The targets that the central bank is talking about are well connected. They'll be the first to get it.
Yeah.
Right from the central bank. They don't even have to wait for the banking system. So you do not have to make 200 million Nigerians suffer because you are targeting 1,000 criminals or you are targeting 1,000 politicians. It's a very flimsy excuse, and you should not allow the central bank to derail. They should go back to their primary function of regulating money, whether it's currency notes or electronic money.
Okay, so let me quickly take you back to what you
foreign
said.
exchange, for that matter.
Let me take you back to what you said initially, that if we wanted to print new notes, we should have, gone to a higher denomination of maybe 5,000 naira notes, 10,000 naira, 20,000. don't you think that in itself will cause our Naira to be devalued even more, and maybe inflation if we have to go above what we have now?
Okay. Money is a measuring rod of value. It's like a ruler, it's like a tape rule. And you have to adapt it to the values you need to measure. So currency notes and coins should keep pace with retail prices. As we stand now, there is nothing you want to buy that we are not going to need the largest denomination of notes for.
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes.
The most used currency denominations are the 200,
If we have it, we'll use it.
the 500, and the 1,000. And they're worth less than $2. So you want to change a $100 note, you will bring out 76 pieces of notes. That's of 1,000 Naira notes. You bring 150 pieces of 500 Naira notes, and if it's 200, you are saying another times 2.5, 500 pieces just to change for a $100 note. This is what it costs the US to print that $100 note. It's what it costs us to print each of those notes. It's just sheer waste. So you should have a currency value that is commensurate. Something equivalent to $5, something equivalent to $10, something equivalent to $20. And that will begin to make sense. When the Naira was introduced in 1973, 10 Naira, which was the highest denomination then, was $15 in value. And then eventually $20 was introduced, then $50 was introduced.
All right,
Go back
sir.
to that.
Thank you,
There
sir.
should be a currency note that you should drop at the filling station, your tank will be filled. There should be a currency note that you should drop for a bag of rice, and it will be enough. So this malady of counting and counting and counting all of the time tells you that your currency values are falling below retail prices, and you should adjust them to go back in line with retail prices.
Okay. Nima has a question.
So I'm just learning from you, sir, now that, the Naira swap was supposed to meet a need. Nobody discussed retail pricing with us. Nobody discussed, the phasing out of our smaller notes with us. What the CBN said was that in every 8 years, there needed to be a Naira redesign because, it should be done every 8 years, and it's not been done in a while. About, I think 14 years was their excuse. And so they did a Naira redesign. And so these details, they didn't give us. So we thought this was a laudable idea. If they didn't meet these needs that you just highlighted, could they have just carefully stayed off redesigning the note so that we're not bearing costs that we don't need to bear? Because we're also just finding out from today, from what you just said, that there's a cost to printing these notes at the value that it is, that the Naira is now compared to other countries who print at the same value. Don't want to be mentioning any other country's currency. Could they have stayed off the designing? That's my question. And not bother with it in the 14 years that they claim.
Right. I'm not talking of the design. When what the central bank is doing is redesigning, and is purely cosmetic. It has no economic effect, but it can disrupt if you don't manage the implementation well. What I'm talking about is redenomination.
Okay.
When the current set of currency were introduced between 1999 and 2005, the highest denomination note we had then was 50 Naira.
Yes.
It took us like 5 years of advocacy before government accepted to do it. And when they did it, this 1,000 Naira was worth about $10, was worth about $8 to $10. Now it has dropped to $1 to $2. So what you need to do is continue the journey that has taken us from 10 Naira as the highest Naira to 20 naira, to 50 naira, to 100, to 200, to 500, to 1,000. And step to 2,000, 5, 10, 20,000. And you will carry your money. You don't need a bag to carry your money. Just like you don't need bags to carry dollar bills or euro bills or sterling bills. We learned to make currency from them. So you too adjust. In euro area, they had 500 euro notes, which they have just withdrawn from circulation because that value is too large. So Nigeria should be aiming at like $40 or $20 as the largest denomination note, not $1 or $2. So I'm not talking redesigning, I'm talking of redenomination. And the 1,000 naira note that we are struggling to print now should be coined. 1,500, 200, 100, down should all be coins. Because when we get to most countries today, $1 is a coin, £2 is a coin. So it's wasteful to be, making denominations that small. This is what you buy a bottle of juice with, a pack of juice, you need your 500 naira. If you want to buy some other beverages, you need 1,000 naira. You shouldn't be paying for drinks or paying for lunch with the highest denomination note. You should be paying for those with coins. Basically, that's the point I am making.
Okay.
So, and that's the point we need to call the central bank back to, make the notes in circulation more efficient. You don't need counting machines in banking halls. We're counting bundles of worthless, currency notes.
Okay, a few more questions for you, sir.
Or bullion vans, etc.
Okay, sir. You've sort of taken us on a journey. We now understand what should have been done and what is necessary. But we have a crisis on our hands right now. And we need to find a way out of it. So we know the state governments and the Supreme Court and federal government, they're trying to handle it there. But we have Nigerians on ground who are going through tough times. And many people are saying, just bear the brunt of the tough times and, you'll be better for it in a few months, in a few weeks. We're not even sure. What advice would you give to Nigerians right now? Should we insist that this policy should be reversed and the deadline that was put should be stopped completely so that we're able to use our new notes and old notes together until the other is phased out? Or you just, what would you advise Nigerians? Would you say stay the course, wait for a few months, things will get better or not?
Well, we want that the policy will not work. We want that the policy is unnecessary. And the central bank arrogantly embarked on the wild goose chase. Everybody is beyond convinced now that the policy is unworkable. Suspend it altogether. Just forget about it. If you've printed new notes, let it circulate with the old notes. And go back to the drawing board and come up with a timetable for redenominating the currency. Some people will say, don't start talking about independence of the central bank or about the CBN Act that they're acting within the law. Before the law, there is common sense. And, the man is not made for the law. The law is made for man. So you should halt it and, follow the advice of the National Council of States. Let the two circulate simultaneously.
Okay.
Until you can introduce larger denomination notes. And let's, withdraw them gradually over time. Stop insisting.
Okay, Mr. Ayo.
If you like, on, sudden withdrawal. It doesn't help
work.
anybody.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the Bluetooth,
Okay, all right.
I'm not sure I still have connection.
That's fine. So, Mr. Ayo, we always pride ourselves that Nigerians are very intelligent people and we are widely traveled. So we go outside the country. Oh, okay, we've lost him. Oh, okay. So I wanted to ask him a question, because some of the things he said concerning the redenomination just brought to my mind that the CBN governor should know this and understand this. That's his job, to do things that will put the interest of the country first. So you travel. You will not say you don't travel. You see their currencies. You know, we copy mostly everything from them. Why are you not designing our currencies in such a way that it will pay us and give a bit of stability to our Naira? Why do we want to just do things because you want to leave your area of jurisdiction to start chasing thieves? The thieves or the corrupt persons that you are trying to chase, you know them. There is no transaction that passes the banks that will not be flagged by the CBN. You know them. You know where they are. You know how to go and catch those that you want to catch. You know how to liaise with EFCC or ICPC to get them if you want them. Why do you have to go through this round rigmaroling route to suffer poor Nigerians if it's not something that's personal to you? That's the question I wanted to ask him.
And you know, at first, when a lot of people, critics were saying, oh, this is politicized, this is vendetta, I just thought, you know, these were just, you know, people that were just talking. But, you know, I haven't heard from him. And he's saying the job of the CBN is not to be catching corrupt people. Yeah. The job of the CBN is to make sure that, you know, your economy is stable. And so if, let's say, EFCC and ICPC had approached CBN and says, we need to have a meeting, we're having serious issues with corrupt officials, or the military saying that there's so much money in the hands of kidnappers, we need to find a way to draw it out. So if those were the stakeholders, the CBN is supposed to, at that sort of meeting, say, okay, I hear you, this would help, but no matter what we do with our Naira, Nigerians should still be able to buy things and sell things and do their business and not find themselves in this sort of situation. So now, you know, as you laid it out, so it's saying to me that because we know that you cannot be a CBN governor just like that, you are well-educated, well-experienced, you are surrounded by people who can give advice and things like that, then I'm rethinking the politicizing of that policy. Especially also that, you know, one of the red flags was at the beginning where our Minister for Finance said she was not aware of this. That really was a red flag.
Yeah. Let me take this call quickly. I'll come to Nima. Yakub. Good morning, Yakub.
Good morning, Sister Nima. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I hope the first caller from Ikorodu listened to our guest this morning. Because when he was saying earlier that the earlier the better we adopt this system, I was just laughing. Because they started training you people now. According to what he said. So they said it was attended meeting because they are employing people. Are you just trying to employ people because you fail? You see, I'm not surprised. When you have, in fact, I supported this president. I don't have any iota of doubt that he will do better. But unfortunately, this is where we have. But when you have a president whereby you don't know how to back people that underperforming, you get it. You have a central bank governor. When it came to that office, the Naira to dollar was 180. And then now, what is the rate now? So in the first 4 years of Mr. President, also this central bank governor go.
Thank you, Yakub. I hear our guest is back. Mr. Ayo, are you there?
I was going to take some feedback.
Yes, please.
Okay. So
Mr. Ayo, just for clarity, you know, you mentioned that you were not talking about redesign, but you were talking about the redenomination. Must this go together? Right. Must they go along together? Can the CBN be taking advantage of this redesign that they did and redenominate our currency? Or what exactly are you referring? Just for clarity, sir.
The redesign has no advantage. It's just a change of color.
Okay.
It has no advantage whatsoever.
The economy.
But the redenomination has an advantage. And as you redenominate, you can redesign. The redesigning is a routine thing. No central bank in the world makes noise about it. It happens quietly. That, you know, newer designs of the note will replace the older designs. And they don't fix sudden deadlines. You know, they circulate side by side. It's just that once the old notes get to the banks will not release them anymore. And they send it to the central bank. The central bank does, yes. So you should be redenominating. But as part of redenomination, you add cosmetics, you know, you add the design issues. But you should not be announcing only a policy of redesign. That's a waste of everybody's time.
I agree with you, sir. I agree with
Just
you.
take some tweets quickly.
I wanted to ask him a question. I'll soon let him go. So, sir, finally, are you still there?
I can hear you.
Okay. So, yes, finally, I wanted to ask you. So, initially when this policy came out, we're told, after like a week, we're told that the old notes can still be given back to the banks at any time. There was no deadline on that. Right now, the banks are rejecting the old notes, and the CBN hasn't said anything about it. They are not saying anything, they are silent about it, and people are not able to use their old notes because banks are rejecting it. So who should we be holding responsible for this misinformation right now, sir? In your view?
Well, the miscommunication came from the central bank.
Okay.
When they were saying that you have until 31st of January to accept the old notes, and that they would allow you to go and deposit the old notes on the 1st of February at the banks. So the central bank gave the impression that after 31st of January, the money will no longer be legal tender, and that they will allow 1 day in which the central bank won't even accept it anymore. It took the intervention of the National Assembly to point out to the Central Bank of Nigeria, particularly after the extension to February 10, that the law does not allow the central bank to reject any money that is put into circulation at any time. They may cease to be legal tender, but the central bank must continue to redeem them when such is brought to them. And so the central bank accepted the correction and then announced that banks should continue to accept
Collecting,
even after the deadline, and they will bring it to the central bank.
And now the banks are not
But
collecting
the public
anymore.
should stop using them as like, that will be wrong. That will be wrong on the part of the banks.
This is because, just as you said, the CBN also informed.
And even the public, now that the Supreme Court has said that the deadline be suspended, even the public should be accepting them. Banks should be accepting them until the matter is eventually resolved.
Wow.
Sadly, Nigerians are still scared. So we saw attacks of banks across the country due to the CBN video from the vaults of banks, exposing that banks had notes, but they were not giving out. So what do you say about the withdrawal limits and how it's affecting Nigeria?
I think all that, they are arbitrary. They are just the central bank trying to be autocratic. The central bank exercising powers that the law doesn't give them.
Wow.
Your money is your own. You bought the money for face value from the government. So no government should be dictating how much of your money you should have access to. That's arrogant on the part of the central bank, and is an abuse of the rights of Nigerians. For me to have money and I can't have access to it. So the central bank needs to be, reined in. They've caused all this confusion now. I'm not sure it will make them happy. And this was entirely avoidable.
Okay, sir. Quickly.
Okay, I have one very short question. So we had the CBN say that they sat down with stakeholders. And I'm saying Economic Associates is a stakeholder in matters like this. Were you invited for any roundtable meeting with the CBN when they were deciding to do things? Or did you hear of anyone else, stakeholders that may have been invited? And what sort of advice did these stakeholders give?
Well, I was not invited. I commented, when they proposed the measure. Even the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, of which I'm a member, issued a statement telling them to reconsider this. They ignored it. I'm not aware that they have called the Chamber of Commerce, to attend any stakeholder meeting. And they should. You can't run central bank based on arrogance. And when you are adding arrogance to ignorance, obviously they don't understand, you know, the importance of currency to the general public.
Hey.
They are doing real life experiments, unavoidable experiments, and you see the consequence.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ayo Teriba.
You've said enough.
Thank you for joining the show today. Thank you. We'll keep monitoring this matter. We've been talking to the CEO of Economic Associates, Mr. Ayo Teriba.